Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the live XRP stream. I'm your name, and we're diving straight into what's moving XRP right now. Price action today has XRP hovering just above the $2 mark after a volatile few weeks. You can see it printed highs around the low 220 cents and has been pulled back to test support near $1.98 to $2. So the market is very much in a battle between profit taking and ongoing institutional demand. Investing.com +1. Right now, the backdrop is important. The multi-year SEC case with Ripple formally concluded this year, which removed a huge overhang for the token and helped open the gates to renewed institutional interest. That legal clarity is a major structural bullish factor that traders are still digesting. Reuters, at the same time, macro conditions are not ignoring crypto. Bitcoin and most altcoins experienced a sharp risk-off move into December as broader markets deleveraged, and that spillover has kept XRP volatile despite ETF flows. Business Insider +1. So what's the on-screen technical read? Short-term momentum indicators are mixed to bearish, with RSI and MACD tilting toward sellers while price is stuck between near-term resistance around $2.20 to $2.22 and support just under $2. A clear range until a decisive break. If bulls reclaim and hold above $2.22 with volume, we could see a pop toward the prior swing highs. If sellers force a close below $1.98 with follow-through, look for a drop to prior support zones. Investing.com +1. For market participants, scalpers should respect the range structure and use tight stops. A daily close outside the range is a cleaner signal than intraday noise. Swing traders can size positions smaller than usual. Given the macro volatility, consider partial entries on strength above $2.22. or on clean retests of $1.98 with falling selling volume. Remember, position size matters more than conviction in days like this. On fundamentals, ETF appetite remains real. Recent reporting shows inflows into XRP-linked funds, and institutional interest continues to underpin bids when fear fades. So the narrative remains constructive even if short-term price action cools. Instagram. News flow to watch. Any fresh regulatory headlines, particularly U.S. enforcement tone, big ETF filings or approvals, and macro liquidity signals tied to margin calls. Those are the switches that can flip volatility on and off quickly. Risk management reminder, XRP is still crypto. High volatility, use stops, and never risk money you can't afford to lose. If you want trade level alerts tonight, I'll post tick level levels in the chat. Watch $2.22 as resistance, $2 to $1.98 as critical support, and $1.85 to $1.75 as the next structural zone if sellers accelerate. For longer-term investors, keep an eye on adoption updates from Ripple's payment partnerships and exchange listings. Structural adoption plus regulatory clarity is the combo that pushed XRP to its mid-year highs. That's the live read. I'll keep the charts on screen, call out volume spikes, and post exact buy-sell levels in the pinned comment. Drop your questions in chat, and if you want, I'll break this into a 60-second highlights clip for YouTube and a deeper 1,500-word breakdown for the long-form upload. Now we move into step 2 of this XRP Live series, where the market begins shifting from reactive volatility to calculated positioning, and XRP stands right in the center of a developing liquidity wave that traders are slowly starting to acknowledge. What we're seeing right now isn't just price movement, it's a transition phase, the kind the market usually hides from retail eyes until the breakout becomes obvious. But today we're catching it in real time. XRP has been defending its near-term support with remarkable consistency, and every dip into the $2 zone is being met with immediate absorption from mid-range buyers who aren't here to scalp a few cents. These are structured bids, layered across multiple exchanges, suggesting that accumulation is happening even while the broader market still feels uncertain. This tells us one thing clearly: smart money is positioning early. They are building footprints before the volatility explosion, and XRP is showing the exact same behavioral pattern it showed in previous accumulation cycles before a major expansion leg. Look at the liquidity maps. The order book thins out dramatically above the current range, which means if XRP catches even a moderate surge of volume, there's very little resistance to chew through before the price lifts into the next psychological zone. This is why traders are so laser focused on the breakout area. This is why sentiment, despite being choppy, keeps leaning bullish. But beyond the charts, beyond the candles and technicals, there's something bigger happening. XRP is finally trading in a market where its legal barriers are gone, where institutions can engage without regulatory hesitation, and this clean environment is feeding an entirely new type of momentum. XRP is no longer just playing catch-up. It's moving in a landscape where its strongest competitors still face uncertainty, and that gives it a rare advantage. You can feel this shift in the way volume behaves. Every time sellers push price downward, XRP doesn't collapse. It stabilizes, absorbs, and reverses with efficiency. That is not the behavior of a weak asset. That is the structure of a bullish asset waiting for macro alignment. The market right now is heavily sensitive to liquidity events, global risk sentiment, and ETF rotations, but XRP is showing relative strength even when the majors wobble. This tells us the internal engine behind XRP is much stronger than the short-term candles show. We are witnessing a compression phase where volatility is bottling up, where price is narrowing into a coiled structure that historically precedes a breakout move. And here's the twist. This breakout doesn't have to be explosive immediately. XRP can grind, consolidate, trap, and then accelerate, and long-term traders know this is the type of market where patience pays. The inflows we're seeing into digital asset funds, particularly alt-focused baskets, hint that institutions are slowly moving back into the ecosystem, and XRP, with its real-world utility and renewed clarity, is conveniently placed to benefit from that return of capital. But what matters most here is the psychology of the market. Retail is nervous, hesitant, unsure of direction, while institutional participants are methodical, calculated, and using every dip as an opportunity. This divergence between retail hesitation and institutional accumulation is the same divergence that historically marks the early stages of major trend reversals. The energy around XRP right now is different. Traders feel it, analysts feel it, even the market structure reflects it. This is the stage where XRP transitions from reactionary price swings to strategic positioning, where volatility shakes out weak hands while stronger hands quietly prepare for the next phase. So as we sit here watching the live chart, understand that XRP is forming the groundwork for its next major move, not through hype, not through speculation, but through structural behavior, real liquidity shifts, and the kind of smart money footprints that rarely lie. Step 2 is the buildup, the tightening of the spring, the calm before the expansion. And if XRP holds its levels and continues showing the absorption we are seeing right now, then step 3 becomes the ignition point. The moment the market stops guessing and starts reacting to the breakout that's been forming under the surface this entire time. The ignition point, the moment everything that has been building finally aligns, because this is where XRP shifts from silent accumulation to visible domination, where the chart stops whispering and starts screaming its intentions. What we're seeing right now is not random volatility. It's structural pressure collapsing inward, the kind of squeeze that usually precedes a violent breakout, and XRP has positioned itself perfectly at the front of that wave. Every time XRP defends its support zone, every time sellers try to force a breakdown and fail, the coil tightens. You can feel the tension between buyers and sellers reach its peak, and this is exactly the environment where explosive moves happen. Look at the behavior of volume. It has been rising slowly, stealthily, without attracting attention, and that's the signature of a market preparing for displacement. Smart money has already loaded. Whales have already positioned. Order books are showing liquidity gaps above the current range, meaning once XRP pushes through the upper boundary, price does not climb, it accelerates. Buyers aren't just fighting for dollars, they're fighting for position ahead of a potential momentum cascade, the kind of move that redefines sentiment across the entire market. This is where market psychology flips. Retail, confused and hesitant, suddenly sees green candles and starts chasing entries they ignored just hours earlier. Traders who hesitated in step 1 panic to catch up. Those who doubted in step 2 get forced to buy higher. That's how breakout rallies work. Disbelief, hesitation, then sudden fear of missing out as price detonates upward. And XRP is showing every early sign of preparing for exactly that. Whether the breakout comes from a news catalyst, a liquidity unlock, an ETF flow rotation, or simply the exhaustion of sellers, the setup is here. Compression, absorption, accumulate, ion, and now ignition. What makes this moment even more powerful is the narrative backdrop. XRP is operating in one of the clearest regulatory environments it has ever had, with institutional barriers removed and utility expanding across cross-border settlement, liquidity routing, and infrastructure adoption. Markets reward clarity, and XRP finally has what it lacked for years. This is why long-term holders feel the momentum building. This is why analysts keep highlighting the structural shift in XRP's chart. This is why whales have been accumulating aggressively while retail sleeps on the price action. The stage is set, the structure is primed, and this final step is where the breakout becomes reality. And when XRP breaks the key resistance above the current range, it won't move slowly. It will rip through thin liquidity, triggering stop-loss cascades, activating long-side momentum traders, and sending price into a zone where emotional trading takes over. We've seen this pattern in crypto for over a decade. The buildup looks boring, slow, sideways, but the breakout looks sudden, violent, and unstoppable. XRP is entering the phase where patience turns into payoff, where quiet turns into chaos, where consolidation turns into expansion. And if momentum aligns today, this breakout doesn't just push XRP higher, it redefines the entire chart structure, turning resistance into support and creating the foundation for a much larger move. This is where the narrative shifts from XRP might break out to XRP is breaking out right now. And in every rally, there's a moment when the market realizes it waited too long. Step 3 is that moment. So as you watch the chart live, understand this: everything we analyzed in step 1, everything building in step 2, now converges into the final ignition. Buyers are stepping up, sellers are weakening, volume is tightening its grip around our resistance. This is the moment when XRP decides whether it stays range-bound or launches into its next macro leg. If the breakout confirms with strong candle closes and sustained volume, XRP enters a phase of pure directional movement. And the traders who positioned early, the ones who understood the structure, will ride the wave while the rest of the market chases in disbelief. This is step 3, the breakout, the acceleration, the moment XRP shows the market exactly what it has been preparing for, and the moment where the entire narrative flips from consolidation to expansion. Hold tight, watch the levels, and prepare, because this is where XRP stops waiting and starts moving.